Welcome to the Finance Committee's meeting on Tuesday, November 7th at 7 p.m. And it is 7 p.m. right now. The agenda is in front of all of us, so the individual who used to take our minutes is no longer on the committee. So I am going to do, we're going to just, if everybody can go along and say their name, we'll do a roll call to establish quorum and open the meeting officially. So starting over here, just
Joe
say your
Ellie,
name.
present.
Excellent.
Richard Keys, present.
Gene Case, present.
Erica Jacobson, present.
Patrick Heffernan, present.
Vanessa Rossi, present.
Frank Visconti, present.
Tracy Blaze, present.
Excellent. So we have established a quorum. Our first order of business tonight is to review and approve the meeting minutes from July 12th, which was our last full meeting, last meeting of this committee. However, I believe that only Erica, only me, Joe, and Frank can vote to approve the minutes because we were the only committee meeting members here in attendance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Or edits? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting minutes are accepted. And part of that was also at our last meeting, we adopted a public comment policy. Just for ease, tonight I have also attached it in the packet that you have. This is the public comment policy that was adopted. It was in our minutes that will be posted from the July 12th meeting. And it will also eventually be in the record for this meeting as well. This is to set forth our plan to receive oral communications during our business meetings, and also just how we deal with electronic communications. So to that end, I will read our public comment statement, and then we will take public comments. So our public comment is to receive oral communications from members of the public. Members of the public may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes. The Finance Committee will not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Seeing no members of the public, there will be no public comment tonight. So.
This is pretty close to what the selectmen have, right?
It's pretty close, yeah. So,
Verbatim.
our first order of business is to welcome and do a couple of minutes of introductions of Finance Committee members. We recently seated 3 new members of the committee, and so I'd love everybody just to, Joe, we'll start at your end of the table and just give a quick overview of your name, where you live, how long you've been on the committee, and I don't know, anything you want to share, so.
My favorite color?
Sure.
Joseph Alley, I live on Plum Island. I've been on the committee, this is my 17th year on the committee now, Gene, is that right? I think this is my 4th year, actually. And I'm making a point to try to represent the people of Plum Island.
Excellent.
All right, Richard Keys. So I live at 38 Parker Street in Newbury. So I grew up in New Orleans. I spent 23 years in the Navy and 25 years at Raytheon. I married a girl from Newbury who did not want to come back, but I convinced her to come back. She lived next to her mother by Gene's house. And we now live in the family homestead on Parker Street. So I retired from Raytheon, and I've been substitute teaching at the Knock Middle School, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So.
I think I knew your wife before you did.
Yes. Well, I'm in Newbury, so when I'm in Newbury, I go by, I'm Patty Jakes' husband.
Gene Case, I've lived in Newbury 54 years, something like that. I live on Parker Street, busy street. The traffic has slowed down a little bit, but it'll get there eventually. Let's see, I've been on the committee, I believe, on this committee 45 years, I think. I think it's been 45 years. I was on school committee for 9 years, starting in 72 or 73. And what is this? This is 23. Yeah,
Yeah, 23.
So after I left the school committee, I was appointed here. So it's got to be around 40 to 45 years. I will tell you, we used to do the budget. We used to do the budget, and we did it on the back of an envelope. And that's not a lie. About a month before town meeting, because it was a little different back then. Anyway, my children went to Newbury schools. Actually, I taught in Newbury. I taught in Newbury for 7 years at the elementary school back in the day. And my career includes having been at the principal at the Knock Middle School, opened it in 1972 when it was new, was there for 20 years, was the assistant superintendent there for 10 years. And then I have been retired, technically retired quite a while, but I did 10 years worth of consulting, various school districts, Hamilton, Wenham, Marblehead, Amesbury, Pentucket, a few others. What else? And I enjoy retirement. I'm busier than I have been. And love Newbury. And so and I'm still involved. I think I resigned from this committee 2 or 3 times, but somehow ended up back after a month or 2. So anyway, that's my story. And glad to have you all joining us. That's good to see some young people here. What, no,
Yes, I know.
You're okay. You're okay.
So I am Erica Coles Jacobson, and I've been on the committee for this latest time. I think I'm in year 3 of, I took 2 years off. I was on for I think 12 years and then took a couple of years off, and there was an opening and they asked me to come back. I am back. My family and I live on South Pond Street now. Prior to that, we lived on Scotland Road for 16 years. So we've been in Newbury for close to 20. Our oldest graduated from Triton in May of this year and is now in college. Our youngest went to Newbury Elementary. And yeah, I think I've been on, I think when I joined the committee, our late Frank Rumley introduced me as bringing youth and diversity. I was a 40-year-old white woman, so here we are. But I've sat on this, and I've sat on the district communications committee for the past few years, so that's my story.
Excellent.
And professionally, I do market research.
So I'm Patrick Heffernan, and like you, I'm known around Newbury as Maureen Heffernan's husband. Well, no. We moved here in 2007 from Northern Virginia, and my wife and I lived overseas before that. I grew up overseas, so for me it's actually been really important to have Newbury as a home. My kids all went to Newbury Elementary in Triton. They're all not quite out of the house. We have one in college still, and like Erica, I'm also in market research. I have, since we moved here, I've been trying to be active in the town. I was on alternate on the planning board for a while, and then I coached pretty much every sport that I could with my kids, and stayed active in the school, particularly while my wife was a school committee member. So when they asked, it was impossible to say no. So I'm very happy to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa. I grew up in Newbury, over on Hay Street. I also went to Newbury Elementary. Then after I moved to New York for college, and was in New York, combination of New York City and Boston, for 15 years or so. And I lived in New York and then moved to Cambridge, back here, and then I moved back to New York. And moved here, so I moved back to my hometown. My husband and I had my son in, my first kid in New York City, and then we moved back here in 2014. So never thought I'd move back to my hometown, but I decided I wanted to, and we were coming back here all the time, and I loved it. And so I've been here since, we live on Orchard Street, been here since 2014. I have 2 kids, and they're both at Newbury Elementary, which cracks me up that they're at my old school, but it's great. Yeah, in my day job, I work at Berklee College of Music.
Nice.
I'm Frank Visconti. I live at 18 Ross Lane. Newbury 14 years now, I think. Newburyport 10 prior to that. I think I've been on this committee a little over 2 years. One all the way through the Triton system. She's in college now. One who we had to bail out and send to the prep. And my wife teaches at Newbury Elementary. And yeah, I think as far as professionally, I have a high-tech recruitment firm. And like Patrick, I coached everything. And this is better. Yeah.
No audience.
Yeah. It's better.
Welcome to all the new people. I'm Tracy Blaze. I'm the town administrator. I have spent my career in municipal finance for the most part. I started off working for a CPA firm that audited municipalities, and then went to one of my clients over in West Newbury, spent 19 years there. Worked with Gene.
I forgot, I didn't mention Pentucket.
Yeah, when he was at Pentucket. And then I had the good fortune of coming here to Newbury. I've been here for about 12 years. Newcomers, anything you need, information, questions, happy to work with you, provide you anything you need to be effective and successful here on the committee. Thanks for stepping up. It's great. Really great.
We have a full committee.
We have a full committee, we do.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
Yes, so it's been a little while since July, since we've all, since the committee has met. So we have a few things to deal with in terms of holdover business. There are 3 different roles on the committee that we'd like to kind of discuss and see who's interested in serving. We have, in our committee leadership, we typically have a chair and a vice chair. Chair has been responsible for posting the meetings. It's very easy to do on the website, drawing up the agendas, working with Tracy to any background we need prior to meetings. Vice chair typically steps in, also sometimes we'll meet with Tracy, do diligence on figuring out a little bit of background information, and chairs the meeting when the chair is not here. The other representation is that we are asked to identify 2 members of the committee to serve on the District Communications Committee, which is actually it's not really a subcommittee, it's kind of an adjacent committee to the school committee. The school committee, Triton School Committee, is actually the governing body that sponsors that group, and that is made up of members of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee from the 3 communities that are the Triton School District. So it meets approximately once a month. They rotate where the meetings are. Sometimes they're at Triton, sometimes they're here. We go to all different towns. And it's the time to address the issue that is the entire Triton district, including the annual budget, annual operating budget, capital needs, ongoing. Throughout COVID, we always had COVID updates on whether kids were in school, out of school, hybrid, the lingering effects of that in terms of the impact on the buses and the ability to have bus drivers and everything else that's kind of come along with that. That's it's an more informal committee, lots of just group discussion, and plays a role in sometimes helping just bring the information from Triton back to the community in a different way and to talk about it within the boards. I've been on that for the last 2 or 3 years. And then the last one we have is identifying someone to record our meeting minutes. Marshall had been doing this and the vice chair role for the last couple of years. I literally did the meeting minutes for July by watching our video from July this time. So it doesn't have to be something you do live. It can be something you do, take notes here, transcribe it. Our meeting minutes are fairly simple. They're not verbatim transcripts, but they capture the high levels of what did we vote on, what did we discuss. So if anyone is interested in, I think I'll start. Does anyone want to be in charge of the meeting minutes? I'll start from the bottom, mostly because I can.
I have a suggestion.
What's that?
Why don't we go back to hiring somebody?
I don't know if we have a budget anymore.
Yeah, we do.
Tracy, do we still have a
Yeah, we
budget?
do.
Yes, you do.
Could we look into hiring someone to do that for us?
I think we've advertised it a couple of times.
Can we try advertising?
We can
Wait a minute, how much
try
does it pay?
Can we pay them a little more?
We can try, yep.
I mean, it's, because it's Tuesday, right? They work till 7, right? So if somebody here,
Yep.
2 more an
No,
hour,
I'll
Yeah.
see if I can
Okay.
have
you
the
know,
troops.
I mean, that way, we did that for 2 or 3 years back
Yeah.
a little while ago. I think that way, you're right, what you end up doing is having to look at the meeting and take notes from the video rather than, was it Jen?
Jennifer, yep.
Jennifer, she did a
Yeah.
great job,
Yeah.
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 So, okay, I'm done with that.
Would anyone like to be like to serve on the DCC? I'm kind of working from the bottom up here, just to.
I'd be happy to go. I mean, I feel like I know a bunch of those people
You-
already, so, yeah.
You have a good.
I have a good, understanding of what goes on there. But I haven't been exposed to it.
Yes. I was saying Richard and Patrick came to the last meeting that was here to
Yes.
witness the
Yeah.
round robin peppering of random questions to Brian as we navigated our way through the meeting.
Erica, can you provide an update as to exactly what transpired with the turnover with the committee, or is that a sidebar? I know we discussed it.
Yeah, we should wait till we finish this.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's a good point, just so we, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No.
Yeah, sorry about.
Yeah. Yes. DCC.
It's not, the DCC does have no authority.
It has no authority.
Just-
It's just to be representative
Yeah,
and to
bring back
be,
information.
yes.
I mean, I'll,
Would you like to,
sure.
Richard? I think that would be a great, it'll help give you a great overview of how the three
Yep.
towns work
Yeah.
together and
Right.
the issues that are facing all of us together, but then as well.
Right.
I think that is. So I'd like to say, entertain a motion to approve Patrick and Richard as our,
So move.
Second?
any discussion? Alternative opinions?
Congratulations.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye. Unanimous, okay. Terrific. All right, and then in terms of finance committee leadership, we have the chair and vice chair. I have served as the chair for, I think, the past 3 years. I would be willing to be a vice chair if anyone would like to be chair and take that on.
Could I
Not
vice chair?
to answer a question with a question, but do you want to remain chair? If you do, you do an excellent job as chair.
I know,
Do you
that's-
want to remain chair?
We'd
If
love
you do-
that.
But if you say, hey,
I
I
would
don't want
say
to be chair anymore, then.
I will entertain chairing through the end of this budget, through this town meeting cycle, till the end of this fiscal year, and then I will definitely step back
Is that a motion?
A motion.
I second.
Congratulations.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And
Vice
then,
chair.
okay, vice chair.
I'd be more than happy to assist.
All right, any other volunteers?
Motion.
Motion?
Joe.
Joe?
Second?
Do I get a business card?
No. Does anyone get a business card anymore?
That's 60.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Take photos of it.
All those in favor of Joe? As vice chair?
Yeah.
Aye. Excellent. All right,
Good to go.
there we go. Excellent. In terms of our next order of business, should we just move into the town administrator's report?
Sure. So I provided copies of the year-end reports, the June 30th reports. Did you not?
I did not get that was not the latest, I did not get that one.
Okay.
Through email?
No.
Well, anyway, the news is good. We finished up the year on a positive note. Our revenues were up slightly. The biggest increase we saw was in our investment earnings. Otherwise, all of our revenues basically came in right around where we budgeted and maybe slightly higher. So that was good news. No revenue deficits this year. We had no issues with expenditures. You may recall we didn't even have to come to you for reserve fund transfers at the end of the fiscal year, so that was great. This year may not be the same, but some of the biggest issues that we're facing this year are facilities related.
Okay.
I imagine between now and the end of the year, the select board will be discussing what, if anything, to do with town hall, what approach they're going to take, or whether or not this is going to be our permanent home in the future in a leased facility. So they'll be making some decisions about that as this lease is expiring June 30th. So they've got to decide, how we're going to handle that. You're probably aware, I know you've all heard about Triton and their potential building project. Whittier will be coming before the select board Tuesday evening next week. You're all invited, hopefully can attend to get an overview of that project and to start to hear about the potential impacts, the approach they're taking to the vote, and how it's going to impact all of the individual communities and what alternatives they may have.
Yeah. Tracy, can we pause for 1 second? I'd love to just give everyone on this group an update on where Triton is based on the DCC, just as a kind of background, and then it'll build over the next year. So there's the Triton facility is in need of upgrades, repairs, massive capital investment. In 2021, we received an overview, the DCC, the Triton communities received they did a facilities review. And that was done right prior to pandemic, but then it kind of got shelved a little bit and then got re-brought out. And what it was basically a study of the entire school facilities as to what it would need to be upgraded to what it was, like to fix everything that's wrong exactly back to what it was, not in terms of optimizing or making it any better. And that was a fairly hefty price tag of about $65 million. But it was also, it's not considered a bid, it's not considered a proposal, it was considered basically a starting point for us to talk about what we wanted to do.
It was a feasibility
It was a
study.
feasibility study and what it would cost in today's dollars to bring it back. The DCC, we talked to the consultants that did that. And then over the course of like 3 more meetings, the DCC talked about what to do about that and how to approach it. And the decision was made to put together a proposal and apply for the cost sharing program with the state. in order to be, which is very similar to what's happening with Whittier too. So the Mass Building, I'm gonna butcher the acronym, MB.
School building authority,
Ma-
mass school building.
Yeah.
Correct. So the three towns, they went to every town, every board of selectmen and said, yes, let's put in let's apply for it. Let's put in an application for it. That was in 2022. We found out in December of 2022 that we were not admitted in. Triton was not included in the plan in 2022. So the decision again went back, and the towns and everybody was in support of let's reapply and hope that we are a little bit further up the list to be eligible for cost sharing before we think about major renovations. So that application has been resubmitted. Again, it will probably be December or January before we hear officially whether or not we're admitted into the program. If we are admitted into the program, we will need to do a feasibility study, which would be the time we would need to invest and when I say we, I see the Triton School District, we need to invest money into a feasibility study of what the options are. There is money set aside within Triton right now to this Triton Capital to pay for that study. So they would not come to the towns to pay for that study. It is something that they could move ahead with fairly quickly. And that's at the time where you would learn whether or not it's better to renovate, build new, any of those options. That's where all of that will be kind of figured out and determined. So we aren't there yet, but we're in that part of a holding pattern for Triton right now. So anything you've heard of, it's $65 million, that's not a real, that is the number that came out of the feasibility study. It's not what anybody would want to do at this point in time. So it's not the project that we're going for, that there is no actual project yet. We are easily a year plus, 5 to 7 years before we're actually.
Wow.
Shovels.
The list all around across the state is pretty long.
Yes.
That's why they evaluate how much money they have and the needs and,
It's likely not going as far as it used to.
yeah,
Right.
no, they do.
So,
But there is, Triton would probably qualify for about 52%, I think, or somewhere in that.
yeah, that's,
Remember, it's very uncommon to be selected prior to your third application, is it? Was that the number that was used?
yeah.
Okay.
So by submitting the fourth application, that means you really need it and the building's falling down?
Well,
That's when they finally say, okay?
So
It's-
truth to that.
Yeah, we've already
crisis.
forward.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's,
Yes.
the school buildings across the state have been that's what happened.
Yeah.
When you have a choice to make and you're sitting on a school committee, the facility oftentimes is the last thing because you have kids in front of you that need teachers. And that's where the priority always is, and it should be. But now we're faced with,
The reckoning.
Yes.
All of them are around the same age, so.
Yes. And there are schools, there are some horrible, horrible schools. I wouldn't put a kid in them. And this was, I worked on for them 5-10 years ago, and there's some schools that, they had 2x4s holding the doors shut. That's all, And I'm not sure how much they've progressed. So, anyway, but you're probably right about second or third.
Yeah, I can't remember the number that was quoted, but it was
Yeah.
incredibly uncommon to be selected prior to your third.
Yeah.
And it was more likely your third
Yeah.
through sixth.
So we were fortunate in the report. We just hit it at the right time.
And that's
But it wasn't a huge, today, what we did would cost 3 times as much.
Yeah.
You're right though about the rumors are flying. I've heard the 65 million number a couple of times. I've heard people say, some people think we are approved and we're building a new school and it's
Really?
only a few years off and some people are like, no, it's not even, so I've heard everything. So rumors are flying.
And that
I
number,
think people know there's something in the works, but they don't understand this initial phase.
I think we're looking at triple that number.
Yeah. A new construction number
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
almost undoubtedly triple that number.
Yes.
65 doesn't build you a horsepower. From a municipal standpoint, unfortunately, it's crazy.
Mhm.
Anyway,
So that's, yeah.
that was
that's-
a wonderful update.
That was I know, but it's one of those ones that's like, and they do, the Triton district is sending out, I know that, the district sends out notices to families in the districts as part of their ongoing communications about that, but it may not hit everybody depending on how, like, I'm not sure, I think you're probably on the distro for it, just as a
Yeah.
parent,
Yeah.
but I think other than that, I don't think anybody else, we wouldn't receive it. No, it's,
Yeah, no, we've got, and we we one time had a long talk with Brian Forte about it, like early on, just about what the plan was. Yeah, the rumors are flying, they're all over the place.
yeah. And the other school-related one is that the fact is that the Whittier, and I included and this is the email I thought you said, if you asked if I had received it, this was the one I thought you were talking about.
Yep.
I actually we have a little bit of an update about the Whittier proposal of what they're gonna be talking about next week, and we have a joint meeting with the select board in order to be able to legally talk during the meeting and be able to ask questions of the Whittier superintendent and individuals that will be here talking about the proposal. So they have gotten, they are getting the matching funds, they are eligible for the matching funds. They did the feasibility. What we are now witnessing and being a part of is the post-feasibility. Here's the plan. It's to build new. And they need to get approval of the 11 member communities. And the way that the cost is, I also printed out the regional agreement, which this is the regional agreement, which is a bit old, but it is the regional agreement. The way that the cost for this project gets broken down by community is not based on our student enrollments at Whittier.
Right.
It has to do with how many students across the 11 member communities. So there's a piece here, it's because I printed it out from my phone and not from the computer. So it's very small numbers, but they're very large numbers. Basically for the Newberry, so what it is the total number of students in the district of the Whittier district, not the Triton district, the Whittier district, all of them. So Newberry has 672 students total, which is 3.33% of the whole district, which means that is our capital portion. That is what we are responsible for of the $264 million that needs to be come up with by the towns. So
Are approvals also weighted accordingly?
no. How they're going about, they have two ways they can go about it, and the way that so each member town, right now what is in front of us that we have been told, and I'm definitely do a little reading, go to the website and come with questions on Tuesday night, is that right now it is set, there are plans for a one-day vote at the polls among all 11 communities to vote to approve the project. And that is a simple majority. So add up all the votes across.
One person, one vote,
One
not
vote.
one town, one
Nope.
vote, one voter.
One vote. So if it's just think about the a governor's race in Massachusetts is that all the cities and towns and it's the total vote. So Newbury could completely say 100% yes, and Newbury Park say no. It's just going to come down to the number of votes total of who does that. And that right now is set for January 25th.
23rd.
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 Yep.
January 23rd. So that is right now what we're operating under the assumption of.
And they're taking that approach versus
Versus,
as each individual community voting at their normal elections. And in that case, if any one of the communities turned it down, the
it
project
would
won't
not.
move forward.
Interesting. Kind of makes us the Wyoming of Whittier votes.
yes.
Other towns.
Representation. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we are the smallest though, right? From the
We
represent-
are
from
the
head- head count.
West-
Small,
West
actually,
Newbury- I
West
think
Newbury is
West Newbury
smaller.
is smaller.
They're
West Newbury has
3.08.
smaller representation?
3.08.
Okay.
So they're, yes, we are, the largest municipality is Haverhill
Yeah.
at 41, almost 42%. Followed by Newburyport and Amesbury.
Those kids can't even get into Whittier.
So,
Tons of kids rejected from Haverhill to get into Whittier. It's very difficult to get into Whittier.
Well, they've, over the years, upgraded their
Yeah.
programs.
It's so
And
competitive,
I'll
yeah.
tell you, a lot of
It is.
kids.
Triton, in 2022, the number of kids from Newbury, our Whittier enrollment in Newbury, from Newbury is 16 students.
A little over 1%. No, yeah.
So this is definitely going to be an ongoing discussion. And the presentation that I attached for tonight is not for us to go through, but for you to look at.
Yeah.
It was just sent out today, but basically it shows down the difference, and this is, I think, important to understand, is that even if this gets voted down, it doesn't make the problem go away, much
Right.
that, you know, if Triton votes down something, it doesn't actually fix the building. So the alternative here is code compliancy upgrades. So it's, and I haven't gone through, so I don't want to speak to exactly what their numbers, because these are not my numbers, Tracy's numbers, or anyone in this town's numbers. They are numbers that are Whittier, so I'd rather talk about it when they're here. But in terms of what the implication of the two options, whether it's a new building or code updates, and then what the impact to the homeowners, the property owners in our community, and what that means to our tax rate.
Yeah.
So is code compliancy like the dead man switch, basically? In other words, if everything else is voted down, code compliancy goes into effect, period, this is what it costs, done? Or does that need to be voted on as well?
Well, ultimately, the funding, what's gonna happen is that we're gonna be responsible, like, for example, under the new building, we're responsible for 8 million plus, and it equates out to about, in very round numbers, a little bit more than $500,000 a year that Newbury would need to pay for the debt service. So how we would go about paying for that, if we had to find $575,000, Tracy, could we find $575,000 in our operating budget today to cut?
Not without impacting services.
Right, so,
And that's the concern, if without an override, so the
Yes.
vote goes through in January,
Mhm.
and it's favorable, and the project passes, moves forward,
Mhm.
even with the SBA reimbursements and the distribution among the communities, we would be looking at, high five,
These figures
600,000.
represent their,
our share,
our share, but also SBA's
yes,
reimbursement, yes.
reimbursement.
yeah,
And then what would happen is, and I shouldn't speak for the select board, it would be their decision, but if they were to look at that and wanted to maintain services, they would have to propose an override in the May election, the spring election. If it failed, then we would have to look at our operating budget and start paring things
But if a
down.
vote does not go through favorably, towns vote it down.
Then it's-
Is code compliancy, I assume at some point has to become a mandate, right? It's like, we need to be a code or we're shutting this building down. How does that work?
That's my understanding, and I think Maureen, the superintendent, will be explaining that Tuesday night, but it seemed there was some urgency with the code compliance issues, so.
Is this meeting, is this Tuesday night presentation open to the public?
It's a select board meeting. The public probably will not be able to ask questions based on a select board meeting, but there are community forums. I don't know, believe that there was one scheduled for December, but that may have changed. They were going from community to community.
They're holding some at Whittier.
Yeah, they're holding some at Whittier. I think
can
there was
send
one
you the
on
dates.
Sunday this past week, and there's a couple coming up, and we can get those dates out as well. Because yes, it's lots of questions. Tracy, for an override in the spring, if Newbury is not assuming the debt, could it be a debt exclusion override?
Yes.
Okay, even though we're not the ones taking out the debt, the town is not taking out the debt.
In a way, we're partial underwriters of the debt.
That's one of my
That's an
questions.
interesting
If
question.
we're not, so
Thank
again,
you.
if we're
Okay,
not,
so it's like, I
they're
understand, like with
issuing the
town
debt.
hall was to, like, if we would do a town hall project, we would be the town would take out the debt.
I think so,
Yeah,
I feel like
we
it's-
could, just like we did when we did the Triton project before,
yeah.
Okay.
previously, yep.
Okay, so it could be a debt exclusion. Okay, so in that case, a debt exclusion different from an operating budget override. And again, this falls to select board to make the decision on what type of override
Right,
to pursue.
right.
But a debt exclusion means that money basically passes through. It gets collected for the life of the loan and then it goes away. We've retired lots of debt over the last 20 years.
Right, and there's a lot of, there'll be a lot of conversations had, whether we finance all of it or some of it, or, we incorporate some of it into our operating budget within the confines of Proposition 2.5, or all of it goes on an override, we'll have to have those conversations as the project unfolds, and we, get more detailed information about final amounts and such.
We currently have no capital charge from Whittier.
No. Well, we
We
do
do.
have capital.
I thought they took care of it
It's
themselves.
very small.
We do from Triton, but that's going down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
I
now,
remember the numbers, but. Part of the rub with this is Haverhill, because they have a large proportion of the population in the school attending and not,
23,000 capital debt.
oh yeah,
Not
so.
much.
They have a vehement anti-tax base over there though, too.
Oh, yeah.
That is a big
Yeah.
thing over there.
Yeah. And when the agreement was written, every town agreed to,
Sure.
that the capital would come as a result of, I think the term they used was school age attending children, not attending Whittier, just school age. Because the capital, and that's how they wrote the original agreement in 769 or whenever they did it. Sometimes those things come home to bite their children.
Yes, it's a proportionate, it's section 4, paragraph D, apportionment of capital costs. Capital costs shall be apportioned annually in December for the ensuing calendar year on the basis of pupil enrollment as hereafter defined. Pupil enrollment shall be defined as the number of pupils residing in a member municipality and enrolled in grades 1 through 12, inclusive of
Yes,
any public,
right.
private, or parochial school wherever located.
The premise being it was a facility ready to serve, and that, and, Whittier, it's
So that's where we are with Triton and Whittier. So, Tracy,
We're also, so this year, for the 2025 budget cycle, fiscal year 2025, we're currently engaged in contract negotiations with our police officers, our firefighters, and our librarians. So those will all be impacting the operating budget. We talked about Triton and Whittier. We did not talk about Newbury Elementary School. We're evaluating the HVAC system, and that's going to be a pretty significant expense to replace that. And this year too, we've had lots of changes in personnel. We had a longtime town accountant retire. We have a new town clerk, a new IT director, brand new IT director, and new police chief and new fire chief. So a lot of transitions here, but a real good solid team. Well, that's really most of what's been happening here. We're excited to get 2025 off and running. The capital planning committee is starting first. They always jump off first with their November 1st deadlines. I spoke with Marshall Jesperson earlier today, and he's going to be setting the meeting schedule for that, and then you'll have information before you. I'll probably bring it back to the committee where we're in flux a little bit right now, and then we usually send out notifications for department managers to put their budget documents together for mid-January, mid-January, and then once those are done, we'll start getting information to the committee, see how things look.
How much of that HVAC, if any, was allotted for in the CPC plan? The CPC long-range plan, was any of that in there?
We mentioned it, but we talked about it being funded through, in all likelihood, a debt exclusion override. But right now, I'm working with the DPW director to see if there are alternatives, much like we faced the roof at the Newbury Elementary School, which was proposed to be a debt exclusion override, but we were able to phase it successfully. We're hoping there may be some opportunity to do that, but I don't have a definitive answer yet.
So I remember it come up in the past, but it might have been in relation to
It was
ARPA.
noted
relation to
in the
ARPA,
plan.
or was it relation to CPC?
It was in relation to CPC.
It was,
We talked about it in those meetings.
And Tracy, how should we, how will this committee interface or get reports from capital planning going forward? Because I know that was also part of the change in how the wards operate this year.
I serve on the capital planning
Okay,
committee,
so
I'm
you'll
happy to
be
bring
our
it.
conduit,
Yeah,
and
sure.
they can also send information to us, but I think that that's, as soon as we get a sense of what they're looking at for capital plans and needs, because I know
They were
that,
due November 1st, so I expect by, midweek next week to have them all.
okay. Great, that's helpful, and then I know that the Triton budget is already underway.
Yeah.
And just for everyone's knowledge here, the way the Triton budget works is that there's two numbers that come out third week of January typically, is our certified enrollment, which is the enrollment numbers as of October 1st. However, it's not an easy number to calculate. There's many different things that go into it. So the state gives the towns, gives the district the total enrollment and then the breakdown between the three towns. That proportion breakdown then feeds into the assessment formula of how much each town has to pay towards the budget. The other part the other number that gets handed down around the same time, I think might be at the same time, is the minimum local contribution, which is basically they say each town of the three towns in our district has to give this much money, and then that does not cover our budget. The remaining piece then gets apportioned by the percent of students enrollment. So there's always a town that has a bit more of the cost, and it changes every year, and it's the minimum local contribution is not a formula any of us can calculate on, like, in advance. So we can't say like, oh, last year it was this, so next year it should be this plus X. It doesn't,
It's based on the community's ability to pay,
Yeah, its
so they look
ability
at
to
our
pay and
equalized
average
valuations
value,
and income
Yeah.
and those types of things.
so. And then the 3 towns it has to pass at all 3 towns, at a town meeting. It has to pass at 2 of the 3 towns, and the 3rd town, if it doesn't pass there, still has to pony up. In a nutshell. All right, so CPC, anything you see as new services that would be added? Anything that we have as current, no major changes into how we do things?
No.
No,
No, I mean, I don't have the budget proposals,
Right.
but I don't anticipate anything new. Although, we do have a brand new fire chief, so I think there could be an opportunity for some changes there.
okay. And I know that, I believe it was, the town municipal, DPW was gonna be doing like facilities assessments, and that's where we'd hear about anything that's needed to be done at the fire station on Morgan Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's exterior envelope or?
The driveway and the floor inside is
Yeah.
what they were looking at.
That was the one.
Mhm.
Tracy, someone mentioned last week about the paving of the streets on Plum Island
Paving's done for the season.
for this season.
Mhm.
Individual streets, I heard someone
We
bringing
did
it up.
most of the island. The only thing, there are some side streets that still
Side
have to be
streets.
done.
That's
But
next year?
Next year, yeah.
Okay.
You got a shovel, Joe?
What?
You got a shovel?
Oh, I won't be there this winter.
The streets can be very political, but not here, because of the study.
That's right.
They're on a plan
Yeah,
that's based on this study, they did, was that 4 years ago, maybe?
It's the side streets. It came up.
10 years
10
ago.
years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna say,
Goes by
out of
quickly.
Merrimack Valley anywhere, our streets are good.
Yes, they are.
They're great.
They are.
Honestly, compared to anywhere.
Yeah.
Parts of Haverhill are like Fallujah right now, it's nuts.
They don't know how to
The streets
pave
are
it.
terrible.
I can't say this, in Newburyport.
Yeah,
No, they don't.
no,
They
no,
don't.
you know when you hit the town line on Rolfs Lane because the road gets smooth. Comparatively,
Every manhole sinks,
yeah. Yep.
it's because they don't do them right.
So that was a
Can we
combination
erase that?
of a very successful
That was an
road
overall-
improvement program.
Yes.
And the support of the residents in paying for,
Right.
passing an override
Yeah.
to allow
Yeah.
for us to address those issues.
We had a substantial amount of chapter 90
90.
funds that,
Yeah.
we had a pretty good back.
About 260,000, somewhere around there.
What's chapter 90?
State, state every year, what is it, what do we get every year approximately now?
About 260 to 290. Sometimes they have supplemental amounts that
Yeah.
they'll throw our way, but it's the state funding for road improvements.
Slush fund?
I wouldn't call
No
it that.
No way.
I don't know.
Because that's what it all goes onto our roads.
It's it's
very much
dedicated to
in
road
that.
improvements
Chapter
or equipment
90.
purchases for road improvements.
Yeah.
So, um, anything, so new IT director, new town accountant, police chief, fire chief, town clerk,
I forget the name.
union negotiations with police, fire, and librarians, all coming.
Mhm.
Terrible time ever.
Do we still have
That's the
same town
question. I'll
council?
let you know by the time we're done. I'm sorry.
Town council still the same?
Yes, we have
Yeah.
Mead, Tallerman,
Yeah,
and
okay.
Costa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. And we will get the end of year reports sent out.
Yeah, I'll send them to you,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
don't
thought
know.
they were sent out.
Did not see them, but we will.
Newtown.
Speaking of that, I have a
Yeah.
question. Recreation.
Yep.
What triggered this? Oh, I was at the field the other day. The basketball court looks great, all
Pickleball?
that,
The pickleball court?
whatever, everything, it's everything. I'm curious though, because I know when it was presented, there was, a lot of talk about how they could raise some funds by renting the space to,
The basketball court?
yeah. Does that ever
No.
transpire?
Not to my knowledge.
See that about everything.
They do it for field rental, we get a significant amount of money, but not for basketball court rental that I'm aware of.
I
I'll follow
remember-
up, but
Yeah,
I-
he said something about outdoor tournaments and.
Oh, yeah, he was pretty
Yeah,
clear
yeah.
about that when he was making the pitch. I'm talking
Yeah.
about,
That's every
I know.
pitch. Right out the
yeah.
field.
The guy from the Plum Island Kitchen there.
Well,
Oh, you can
no,
see
the person, it's,
no, I
yeah.
didn't see that as
the
a moneymaker,
Volpone. It wasn't he chair of that committee?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I thought we might offset some of the costs. It doesn't matter. I just, because I think it's great. but
I'll follow
I just
up,
wondered if we
David
ever.
Brohl is the chair of that committee now, I'll follow up with
Okay.
him, but I'm not aware that
Yeah,
we are.
probably never did. Yeah, because okay.
I remember that, Gene.
Oh, yeah, that was part of the pitch.
Those ornaments.
I was gonna say, I think that pitch was in 2019.
Oh, it was a while ago.
Yeah, it was before pandemic, because I was there when
Yeah.
it wasn't quite
Yeah.
enough and there was the additional funding was approved.
They are working on a comprehensive plan for that
For
area,
that.
you know, with Huntress.
And I have to ask, bathrooms on Plum Island?
Yeah, we have some. They're coming along. We expect to have them open for next season.
Excellent.
Yep.
I didn't bring it up this time.
Yeah.
That's okay, I know, I just.
No, they've been working on
Georgia
it.
Road
Every
or
time.
bathrooms.
Well, you know, you're absolutely right, Frank. They do only do roads or bathrooms, and that was the pitch, if you will. We had an opportunity to either go out to bid and have it done quickly for more money,
Yeah.
or we could allow the DPW to do it. One of the members got his contractor's license so that they would do it in between paving when it was raining, when they aren't snow plowing, they're understanding that it would take a longer period of time. But the plan was to have it open in the spring, and we expect that it'll be open. So
Excellent.
as soon as it's done, it'll be available for tours. I'll take the maiden
Well,
voyage
we
to it.
Going alphabetically for first flush.
I was gonna say, is it available for use?
You can use it while you're in there.
There we go. Excellent. As I say, I think, any other things on terms of,
Nope.
anybody else have questions for Tracy? Things you've heard, things people have asked you about, I get asked.
I would ask about the Plum Island Grill, but that's in Newburyport.
No, it isn't.
It's in
It's in
Newbury?
Newbury.
That's in
It's in
Newbury,
Newbury.
but
Okay.
it's a,
That's a
Seems to be
private
a-
civil matter. I'm not
4
apprised.
condominiums?
We haven't seen any proposal yet.
It's the rumor.
Haven't
That's
seen
the
it.
rumor. That's the rumor at 10 o'clock in the Beachcomber on a Saturday night.
Well, if you happen to see Mark Priory down there, you might want to ask him.
And that guy is going into the old Stripers, I think.
Really?
It's been
Right
empty for a
across
while.
the bridge,
I heard that.
starting December 1st.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to
Francis,
see somebody make that place work.
everyone just flocks. It's like a
It's a
curse.
beautiful spot.
Great
Beautiful
there.
inside, it's
Yeah.
already done.
Parking,
Yeah, a lot of,
yep.
I don't know. I
And
don't
they
know
rent
what
those
it is.
rooms. The hotel does well,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
It was funny, last couple of weeks ago, we went, my wife's cousin owns the Beachcomber.
Why don't we adjourn?
Yep.
Okay.
hold on, let's just say if there, do we have any reserve fund transfers?
Not right now.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Actually, just
Oh,
upcoming
sorry.
meetings. I just wanted to let Bill, just to make sure we announce the upcoming meetings. We have a joint meeting with the select board. It's already posted, that's so that we can talk and ask questions while we're here on that topic. And then our group's next meeting would be Tuesday, December 5th at 7 PM. And we may not meet in January. There's sometimes we don't have enough to talk about in January, but if we do have items that we need to, we'll talk about that for a January meeting, and it will be
Try to keep it light.
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
1 hour. Good job.
Wow, all right.